Hey guys, welcome back for more Elegies Aya. So tragedy last time. So anyways, let's continue. Yeah, I hope nothing happened to Aunt Claire. Hopefully. I and I spent a long tiring day looking over our shoulders as we wander the streets of the city. We keep an eye out for places that might be safe to hide on later, as well as stopping in a few stores to pick up supplies. I put together a slightly cleaner outfit from a second-hand clothing place, and the drugstore furnishes me with a new cane that helps keep some of my weight off my aching ankle. My bag is now packed with a sweater, and a blanket in case I have to sleep outside again, plus a few emergency snacks and water bottles. I'm not really sure how much money I have left in my bank account, but I know it's not much. Just a little that I saved up from allowances and birthday gifts over the years. Every time I go to pay for something, I get a little anxious that I'll have to use it all up and the card will get declined. If this keeps up, I guess I'll need to find a way to make some money. Maybe I can pick up some odd job somewhere. But my meager savings have held up for now. So as the sun sets over the harsh streets we now live in, I and I make our way back to Fred's diner. We figure anyone who might have recognized me in that area earlier will be long gone by now. And the 24-hour restaurant is a good place as any to stay warm for a little while before heading somewhere else to sleep. That and their coffee is actually pretty good. I could definitely go for some more. Fred's a little less empty than it was this morning, but not by much. It still has the listless atmosphere of a place where people only go when they're tired and couldn't find anywhere else. The waitress on shift is a young woman with dark eyeliner and a series of colorful pins and buttons on her apron. She blows a big pink bubble of chewing gum as she wordlessly jerks her thumb toward one of the many empty tables. Leaning on my new cane, I take a few steps toward it before I'm interrupted by a chillingly familiar voice.
Good evening, Zachary.
I freeze. Who's that?
No, it's her!
Who's that? Is that Sloan? Okay, it's Sloan. Stiffly turning my head to the side, I see Detective Sloan Tyrell seated in a darkened corner booth. The collar of her coat is pulled up around her jawline, and steam curls toward the ceiling from the half-empty cup of coffee resting by her elbow.
Why don't you take a seat?
Stall her as much as you can before she calls for backup. I'll start looking for a way out.
Aya zooms off toward the restaurant's kitchen. Not knowing what else to do, I slide down to the booth across the table from the detective. It's a cramped spot with the edge of the table forcing me into an upright posture. Dude, how can you even escape her? You have a cane and she's a detective. I keep a tight grip on my cane.
You don't have to look so scared, Zachary. I'm here to help you.
When have you ever done anything to help me before?
You haven't let me try.
She takes a swig of coffee and then sets her chin on one hand.
I know you don't like me prying into your personal business, Zachary. You and your aunt have made that pretty clear. But you must have realized by now that what's going on here is much bigger than you and your personal concerns. I promise you, I just want you to be safe.
Oh yeah?
I find myself slamming my fist onto the table, all of my rage at the continued loss of my loved one spilling out again.
If you care so much about my safety, then where were you when a man with a gun showed up at my front door and shot Aunt Claire in front of me in broad daylight? Apparently, you're watching my every move just so that you can turn up and harass me wherever I go. So why didn't you stop him? Why didn't you save her? Why didn't you?
I run out of words to express my anger and dissolve into a shaky, heaving breaths. Out of the corner of my eye, I realize that a few of the diner's other patrons have turned to see what I was yelling about. But they don't keep staring for long before returning to their food or their phones. Meanwhile, the detective gazed at me with a softer and more sympathetic expression than I expected.
I'm not watching your every move, Zachary. At least, I wasn't before today. But you have to understand that once you disappeared from your aunt's house yesterday, you became a missing person. A missing child at that. It's my responsibility as a police officer to find you and bring you home.
Home? I don't even know where that is anymore.
Fortunately, it wasn't difficult for us to track your debit purchases and check the relevant security cameras. I came here because I thought you'd be likely to come back, and because I figured it might be a comfortable place for us to talk. I just want to know what happened to you so that I can help you, Zachary. You say a man with a gun shot your aunt?
Not just any man with a gun.
I smashed my fist down again, my nails digging into my hand.
It was the same man I told you about the first time we met in the hospital. The guy who was hanging around my house before the fire. He's been after me ever since. If you've been trying to help me so much, why didn't you find him and arrest him before things got this far?
The detective leans in toward me, her eyebrows furrowed.
The same man? You're sure?
Yes, I'd say I'm pretty sure I'd recognize the man who killed my family.
If you could describe the man. I mean, I could get a sketch artist and...
Oh, sure. Great idea. Let's just sit around here drawing pictures while he's out there shooting more people. How hard could it possibly be for the cops to find a guy who's running around town with a gun? Aren't there security cameras everywhere these days? You found me, so...
Zachary, you're a confused teenager. You're a little easier to track than a seasoned criminal.
Oh, I'm confused, am I?
My frustration boils over again, and I get to my feet pushing myself away from the table.
You know what? Maybe you're right. I'm confused about why we're still having this conversation. Are you going to arrest me? Because if not, I've got better things to do.
I half expect her to pull out a pair of handcuffs. I'm sure there's some kind of law that says I can't be out unsupervised late at night, or that she can do whatever she needs to get information about what happened to Aunt Claire, or something. But instead, Tyrell looks up at me with a hint of sadness in her eyes.
I wish you could trust me, Zachary.
You haven't made that sound very appealing.
I know that you've been through a lot, and that you probably feel like there's no one you can rely on. But if you give me a chance, I can prove to you that...
Zach!
Aya hurtles back through the wall, a look of excitement in her
There's
eyes.
a back exit through the kitchen, and tons of places to hide out in the alleyway. So if we need to get out of here, we're set. Just give me the signal, and I'll be your guide.
She lifts her ghostly hand into a quasi-military salute. Meanwhile, the detective is still seated in the booth, her mouth half open in an expression of confusion and surprise. I give Aya a subtle nod before continuing the conversation.
What?
Huh?
You'll prove it to me that what?
Oh,
She blinks a few times as if to regain her
I
focus.
forgot what I was going to say. You know, it's funny, but for a second there, I thought...
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, it's this guy again. You can hear the voice. It's the same guy.
Oh no!
I turn my head toward the entrance of the diner from where a deep voice just extended a polite greeting. It's him. The other weird guy from Aya's old neighborhood. The one who talks like an alien.
Perhaps there's something you can help me with.
You can just pick any table? A young woman not getting paid nearly enough to deal with this makes a valiant attempt at handling the situation.
I do regret to inform you, but I won't be staying long. I'm merely searching for an acquaintance of mine. A young man. In fact, I know him as Mr. Smith, but his name is really...
He turns face to me or across the diner, his lips curling into a sadistic smile.
Gilbert, isn't it? Mr. Zachary Gilbert.
Oh. Tyrell is on her feet, placing her body in between us.
Zachary, is that him? The man with the gun?
You!
I back away from the detective, inching toward Aya as she directs me to the kitchen door in my peripheral vision.
You're working with those guys, aren't you? That's what's going on here. You were stalling until he showed up.
Those guys? There's more than one?
There's a whole group of them stalking me. And you're part of it too, aren't you? That's how all of you always know where I am.
Okay, the door's on your right now, Zach.
Can you even run, Zach?
You're really close to it. The second there's a good distraction, run.
That's right. We do always know where you are, Mr. Gilbert. So there's no use trying to escape. We'll simply find you again. Now, all my colleagues and I want to do is ask you a few questions.
Wait a minute. I ask the questions here.
The detective whips her identification out of her coat pocket and brandishes it high in the air.
Detective Sloan Tyrell. What do you want with Zachary?
Oh, you know well enough, don't you, detective?
I think I'm supposed to call my manager.
Zach, no!
With both threats temporarily focused on each other, I use my new cane to help me pivot around and whirl through the door to the kitchen.
Over here!
I shoulder past a stunned line cook and slam my body into a heavy metal door before tumbling out in the dark alleyway beyond.
This way!
Wait, actually
There are a
escaped?
bunch of twists and turns. It'll be hard for them to follow us.
Okay, show me the way.
Fighting through the aches and pains in my body yet again, I creep into the shadows of a new network of paths between buildings. Following my friend as she shouts out the orders that lead me away from one of the many threats to my life. He escaped. A kid with a cane. Escaped, okay. Aya's directions eventually lead me, sweating and gasping for air, to the side of the entrance of the local library. An announcement rings out that the place is closing soon, and I limp into the darkest and most secluded corner I can find. With any luck, I'll be able to hide out here for the night. Aya hovers beside me, giving me a few minutes to catch my breath before she speaks.
What happened back there before the creepy guy showed up? What was the detective saying?
I shrugged and I reply in a whisper.
The usual. That she's on my side. That she's here to help. Blah, blah, blah. Funny how she hasn't actually done anything while my life's been crashing down around me. Although...
I think through the strange events at the diner before Aya and I made our escape.
I thought she was working with that guy at first. It would make sense, right? Like, if those creeps are working with the cops, that's how they know so much, and it's why she's so useless. They're all in it together, trying to capture me or something so that they can... I don't know.
I sigh.
But then, she seemed really confused. Like she had never seen that guy before. Maybe she doesn't know any more than I do about who those weirdos are and what they're doing. But even if that's true, it doesn't necessarily mean I can trust her.
I lean my cane against the wall and sink down into a sitting position in the corner.
What are we going to do, Aya? It feels like everywhere we go, someone is after us. How are we going to get away?
Easy!
Aya leans down with a glint of mischief in her eye.
We're not!
What do you mean?
If we can't get away...
She positions herself so that she's seated across from me, albeit still floating slightly above the floor.
then we're just going to have to let them come to us. But on our terms.
How are we going to do that?
In spite of my skepticism, Aya's easy confidence is starting to lift my spirits just like always.
Well, first First, we need to make a plan. But trust me, I got some really good ideas.
I smile.
Okay? I trust you.
Okay, what is your plan? You went back there again? Okay. On another late night in the city, I lean against the brick wall of an empty storefront, trying to look casual as possible. It's been a few days since I cooked up our plan in between the shelves of a darkened library. Since then, we've been getting used to life on the run. We've found a few places where I can risk sleeping for a few hours as long as we keep moving and never stay in the same spot for too long. And with an invisible ghost friend to scout locations and keep watch for potential distractions, it turns out it's not too hard to help myself to the occasional necessities from the shelves of the department stores. I don't feel great about shoplifting, but I've used up what little cash I had already. So the only other option is using my debit card, which would bring Tyrell and the rest of the cops down on our location in a heartbeat. And even if she really has been trying to help me, she hasn't been doing a great job of it. Oh, this is something I need to handle on her own.
Zach! Shady guy! 3 o'clock!
Which one?
I murmur my answer in case any passerby happen to overhear. With what seems like an organized criminal gang on our backs, we can't be too
I
careful.
think that's the taller one we first met in my old neighborhood.
I don't want to be the green suit.
Mr. Kid!
Oh,
Okay.
it's the same?
Is he coming this way?
Looks like it. Stand by for the signal.
Got it.
These guys have been tailing me constantly ever since we made our escape at the diner the other night. We're not totally sure how they managed to track me so well. Maybe they've got some kind of hacker on their team who can access security cameras around town. But unluckily for them, I have a secret weapon of my own. My ultimate sentry Aya. She's been really honing her lookout skills. Wherever we go, she's checking the perimeter and keeping watch for anything out of the ordinary. Through a combination of her warnings and my developing ability to inconspicuously blend in with the crowd, we've been able to keep them on their toes and avoid getting caught by them so far. You'd think they might try to make themselves less obvious by dressing more like normal people or something, but who knows? Maybe the uniforms are bad guy company policy. I'm not going to complain about it either way. It makes them easy to spot and we've gotten used to some of their routines. Mr. Kid and the creepy bald guy and the other various cronies. Tonight we're finally confident enough to turn the tables on these freaks and start taking things into our own hands.
Caca! Caca!
That was a signal. She could have said Zach. No one could see her anyways. Why do we need a signal when she could have said absolutely anything and no one else would have heard her? Yes. Simple. It sounds cool. I'm almost having fun as I duck around into one of the alleyways that we've learned to navigate so well, checking over my shoulder to see what my partner in crime is up to.
Perfect. He definitely saw you. Time for step 2.
Step 2 is slowing down just enough to let the guy catch a glimpse of me, again before slipping around another corner. If all goes well, he'll think he's about to catch me at the dead end but really he's walking into a trap.
He's speeding up. Get everything ready.
I was born ready.
He's almost there. He should be in the perfect position now.
I leap into action, emptying a bottle of pepper spray I was concealing in my pocket around the corner of the alleyway.
Ah! You got him!
I step back out from my hiding spot to see my opponent bent over in pain, furiously rubbing his eyes. Quickly before he recovers, I lift my cane and smack him on the back of the head. He crumples down onto the pavement just as I planned.
Wow! That was intense. I think you might have fractured that guy's skull.
Oh, now we're killers.
Serves him right.
What the hell?
He and his buddies have done way worse to me and my family. Keep an eye on him and let me know if he's starting to wake up.
Got it.
From behind one of the dumpsters in the alleyway, I retrieved the ropes that Aya and I hid there earlier and began binding the man's hands and feet. I spent a long time practicing knots yesterday, so I'm pretty confident that it will hold him for a while. It kind of looks different here, look. I hear him groan as I leave my cane on the ground for a moment. He had a drawing in this one, and when we see him, right, it's kind of different. And drag him by his armpits toward a dark corner. I don't want to risk getting caught while I'm in the middle of committing what definitely looks like a crime. I mean, I guess it is a crime, but I think it's a pretty justified one. This guy should have thought twice before he messed with Detective Zack and Assistant Aya.
What the hell? What the hell did you do to me?
He forces his red, irritated eyelids open and struggles to move his hands as he regains consciousness in the brilliant trap we devised.
Fractured your skull, probably. You might want to get that checked out later, if I decide to let you go.
Oh, that sounded so cool!
Aya grins widely as I lean over our hostage, trying to act as intimidating as possible.
Zachary? How did you... What's going on?
What's going on is that I'm not the helpless kid you thought I was. I'm in control now. And you're going to tell me who you work for.
The man lets out a bitter chuckle and shakes his head.
What do you think this is? Some kind of action movie? I'm not telling you anything. In fact, you'd better get out of here before my colleagues show up and fracture your skull. And the rest of your body.
Nice try, tough guy, but we've figured out how your little operation works. And we know you creeps take it in shifts. There's no one else around right now. We've checked, so start talking.
We? Who do you work for?
I asked you first.
This is getting a little silly. I consider hitting him again to impress the seriousness of the situation. But I feel a lot less gung-ho about being violent towards someone who's already tied up and at my mercy. Even if he's a terrible person. Watching him splutter in confusion like this, he seems a lot less scary than he normally does. He's actually kind of pathetic.
Alright, look, whatever. I don't get paid enough to put up with being interrogated by a teenager. But I can't just tell you who I work for. That's not really how this business goes. My partner and I, we don't ask questions. Some intermediary tells us who to keep an eye on and where the money goes. That's it.
You mean you guys just get paid to be creepy stalkers?
We're not stalkers. We're professionals.
Professional stalkers?
We think of ourselves more like security.
For who?
I don't know. I just told you. I don't want to know. It's safer to do this kind of thing if everyone keeps their names to themselves.
What about... You said there's an intermediary you get your orders from. Do you know his name?
No, I don't know anyone's name. Hell, you think my real name is Mr. Kid? I got that from an old movie. All we get are burner phones to contact each other and the addresses of a few dusty old apartments to hide out in. Like the one you saw. They're probably rented out under fake names too. There's nothing that would give the others away. If there was, I probably wouldn't even be here right now.
What do you mean?
The man's eyes go wide for a moment and his next response is lacking in his typical bravado.
I mean, you know, things happen. Sometimes people aren't careful and get caught. Probably someone would have given me up by now if they knew anything about me. But they don't, which is good. It's exactly how things are supposed to be. You can't form attachments in this business.
For a moment, the expression in the man's eyes looks a little bit wistful and sad.
Zach, Do you think maybe someone else in this gang did get caught recently?
I gasped.
Oh! That detective must have arrested this guy's partner after we ran out of the diner. That would make sense, right? That's what he's thinking about.
I give a subtle nod in Aya's direction. She could be right. In which case, that would probably mean Tyrell really isn't working with these guys after all. But that still doesn't mean she's really on our side either. For now, I'd better focus on getting whatever information I can out of the man in front of me.
You said there were more apartments. Like ones I saw?
Mr. Kid sighs.
Yeah, I guess I did say that, huh? Look, if I give you an address, you let me go? That's all I have to tell you. Honest.
Let me think about it.
I straighten up and turn away from him in order to confer with Aya, raising an eyebrow toward her to indicate that I want to know her thoughts.
I don't know about letting him go. The second we leave, he could contact his other cronies and tell them we're on the way to one of their hideouts, right? We could be walking right into a trap.
I guess you're right.
I whisper, hoping our hostage won't hear and wonder why I'm talking to myself. Although it doesn't really matter what he thinks of me, I guess. Maybe he'd actually be more intimidated if he thought I was crazy.
But we can't just leave him tied up here, right? That feels wrong.
Oh, what if we make an anonymous call to the cops and tell them where to pick him up? If they really arrested his partner, they're probably looking for him too, right? We can hide and make sure they come and get him, and then head to his hideout after that.
That's a smart idea, Aya.
She beams.
That's why I'm the ultimate detective's assistant.
You sure are.
I turn around and crouch down in front of Mr. Kid.
Alright, give me the address and give me that burner phone of yours too. I can't have you contacting your buddies and telling them we're on our way.
Fine. It's in the inside pocket of my jacket.
I fish around in between the ropes until I find a battered old flip phone and withdraw it.
And there's another one of those little hideouts on Abercrombie Avenue.
Abercrombie Avenue.
Number 128, apartment C. Now, will you untie me?
I stand up and look down at him with a grin of triumphant on my face.
Oh, I'm sure someone will. Right before they cuff you, that is.
What?
I can't help giving him a self-satisfied shrug as I flip open the burner phone. For once, I feel like things are starting to go my way. Mine and Aya's. And next stop, the bad guys' hideout, where maybe we'll finally start to get some answers. Okay, we're going to Abercrombie Avenue, right? Aya and I don't talk much as we head to one of our habitual hiding places after making our anonymous call and chucking the burner phone in a random dumpster. Personally, I'm not sure where to start addressing everything that just happened to us. I don't even really know how I feel about it. There's a bit of pride and triumphant mixed into my emotional state. That our plan went off without a hitch. That I took some control back from those awful men who have been ruining my life, that I hopefully even sent one of them to jail where he belongs. But there's also a growing exhaustion starting to drown all of that now that the nervous energy that spurred my actions is dissipating. And my heart rate is slowing down to normal for what feels like the first time all day. There's a little bit of guilt too. As terrible as that guy was, I can't believe I actually whacked him on the head with a blunt weapon. I might have seriously hurt him. I've never done anything like that before. I've never wanted to. One part of me says that it was justified. I did what I did, I had to, right? But another part of me is worried that I've somehow irreversibly changed myself with that action. Either that or I've revealed something that's always been there underneath. Am I a violent person? Did I want to hurt that man? At the time, I felt so confident about it, so cool. Do I like hurting people? That's not the kind of person I want to be. And alongside all of that, there's still so many questions and concerns about the future that haunt back of my mind every minute we spend on the run. I barely know how to cope with with it all myself, let alone how to talk about it with Aya. So I'm glad she doesn't try to start a conversation about it either. Maybe she's working through some of the same thoughts on her own. And we don't even need words anymore to coordinate sneaking into one of the isolated corners of the public library where we can stay quiet past closing time and spend the night. We know the staff's routine, just like we knew the route our adversary would take to follow us, so it's not hard to avoid being seen. Especially not when a certain nice older woman who gave me a conspirational wink once is on shift. I think she might know more than she lets on. Maybe she understands just how much I need a place to sleep. I'll have to thank her somehow one day when this is all over. If it ever is. Crouching down in the corner, I slide my laptop out of my bag and connect to the public Wi-Fi. To search for the one lead, we have to unravel a bit more of this mystery. 28 Abercrombie Avenue, Apartment C. From the look of the map that comes up on my screen, it's in a suburban area toward the edge of the city.
Whoa, that looks pretty far away. Can we still take the bus there?
I think so.
I respond in a now habitual whisper.
Let me check.
I add a few parameters to my search before tilting the screen toward Aya.
Yeah, looks doable. It's just a really roundabout route. It's going to take us, like, at least an hour.
We should make sure to pack lots of food and stuff before heading out there, so we don't have to worry about getting back here right away. Hey, maybe we can even stay in that area for a while. Take our time scouting the place out. Find the best places to eat and sleep like we did around here. Kind of like a new adventure.
Yeah.
I don't know if Aya would be as enthusiastic about adventuring if she had to experience the actual physical needs to eat and sleep that I do. But then again, I know our lives right now aren't exactly easy for her either. She does a lot of work helping me stay out of trouble, and the fact that she doesn't sleep presents its own difficulties. As much as she puts on a brave face, I can tell it can be draining for her to spend all night wandering the streets and looking out for me. With no one else to talk to, I had no idea where the next day might lead us. Pretending it's an adventure is part of what helps her handle it. I click around the map somewhere, looking for as much detail as I can find about the address we'll be heading to. It seems like an apartment C is in one section of a big duplex in a sprawling housing complex. One of those places where everything looks the same and there's nothing to do except hang out on the park or something without a way to get further into town. One of my best friends from elementary school lived in a place like that, and even as a kid I thought it was kind of depressing. Who wants to spend a ton of money on a house in a neighborhood with no entertainment or character? But I guess it must suit the purpose of our professional stalker friends to have some level of isolation and anonymity. We're just going to have to do our best to take that away from them.
Anything else you think we should do to prepare?
I don't know.
Honestly, I'm getting too exhausted to think about it. The laptop screen is blurring as I struggle to keep my eyes open.
Maybe we can make some more plans in the morning.
Okay, you get some sleep then. I'll go do some reconnaissance.
Aya floats up into a standing posture and puffs out her
I'll
chest.
pull up the best place to get food and other supplies before we go. You can count on me.
Thanks.
Sleep well.
She gives me one of her bright grins before disappearing through a bookshelf to the other side. And I blurrily shut my laptop and slide it back into my bag as sleep threatens to overtake me. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. But I guess I could say that about any day of my life right now. Wonder what's gonna happen in that apartment. Okay, let's check it out. We'll continue. The bus ride to Abercrombie Avenue is long and mind-numbingly boring. I grabbed a random paperback thriller from the library before we left this morning, thinking I could read some of it to pass time on the way. But I must have reread the first paragraph 5 times before I accepted that I'm just not going to be able to focus. All I can think about is the mixture of fear and excitement that's been coursing through my veins since the moment I woke up. We're taking action. We have a plan. But we also know so little about what we're going to be facing once we get there. What's the next step going to be once we find this hideout? And maybe even more important right now, why does it have to be so incredibly far away? Finally, Aya draws my attention to the progress of the little dot on my phone's navigation app, and we hop off the bus onto a clean suburban sidewalk. It's still a bit of a journey from here to that exact address, and I lean heavily on my cane as I double check the directions on my phone. There aren't many people outside in the suburbs at this time of day. The only ones I can spot from here are a couple of small children playing on the lawn with a girl I assume is their babysitter and an older man smoking a cigarette on his front porch. It hits me that Aya and I are a lot more exposed out here than we would be downtown, with no crowds to blend into or business to sneak through the back exits off. What if those guys see us coming from all the way down the street and the whole plan is ruined? I'm about to say something about it to Aya when she pipes up with a suggestion that lets me know she's already been thinking the same thing.
I'll run on ahead and scout out the route. You hang back a bit and listen for the signal if there's danger.
What's the signal if there's danger?
It's me yelling. Watch out, Zach! There's danger! See you in a bit.
Aya zooms off down the street and I follow her at a slow and halting pace, as if I have any option other than hanging back a bit. My leg is killing me. The cane helps a little, but not much. I should still have the padded boot thing on that I left behind when we ran. Furthermore, I should be in physiotherapy to help me recover. I probably shouldn't even be walking around this much at all either way. Maybe Aya and I should be looking for pharmacies we can score some painkillers from, but I worry about that being a slippery slope. With the combined pain and stress of everything that's going on, I can see myself getting to a habit of taking too many to doll it all and needing to go back and keep stealing more and more. Besides, I need to keep focused if I want to stay alive. So maybe the pain is better than the alternative. Not that the thought helps all that much, as I limp down the street toward a frightening and uncertain future. The walk feels endless. The houses I pass are largely indistinguishable from each other, and the cane helps less and less with every other step. But eventually Aya returns with a contented look on her face that lets me know there isn't any immediate threat.
I found the place. It's not too much farther now. I don't see any security hanging around outside, so you probably don't need to worry too much. But we'd still better sneak around the back, just to be sure.
Why don't you go inside the house? You are a ghost, and check if there's people there, right?
If we head over this way, I think we can get to the backyard. And there's a basement we can hide next to. Try to find out what's going on. Come on!
I respond with a wary nod, unable to match her enthusiasm. She chatters a bit more about plans for how to best survey the hideout as I stumble along behind her through the uneven grass behind a row of houses. Finally, she points out the hiding spot she has in mind, and I sink down to the ground, my back against a hard brick wall. I'm partially concealed by a bush, and there's barely enough traffic on the one road I can see from here. I guess it's as good a place to rest as any.
Oh, don't say anything out loud. I think that window's open. Which is great, actually. You might be able to hear them. Just stay quiet. I'll check it out.
I nod again and then wince as I stretch out my leg in the dirt. Aya disappears through the wall and into our enemy's basement hideout. When I next hear her voice, it's a bit shaky and lacking in its customary zeal.
Zach, you know the guy who,
Oh my god,
the
why didn't you check earlier?
The reason we had to leave?
I immediately understand who she's talking about and why it's so difficult for her to say it. The man who shot... and maybe killed Aunt Claire.
You know, the guy, he just walked in.
For a moment, hearing that he's nearby absolutely fills me with rage. I imagine smashing down the door of this place and confronting him with what he did. Doing whatever damage I can to him and this stupid little hideout in my last moments before he would inevitably kill me too. But as much as I wish I could give in to my emotions, I know it wouldn't do any good. It might make me feel better in the moment to smack that cold-blooded killer over the head with my cane like I did to his buddy. To steal his gun from him while he's down and aim it somewhere that would hurt. But it would ruin everything, and it would almost definitely mean the end of me. If nothing else, I can leave Aya alone. I need to stay calm and listen to her and do what I can to come up with a plan.
There's another guy with him. I don't think I've seen him before. It looks like the guy we know is kind of showing him around the place. Oh, they're headed towards you. Stay quiet and don't move.
Like she needed to tell me that. Then again, I did just entertain an unrealistic fantasy of barging out of my hiding spot to my death, so maybe she knows me better than I think.
And if anything else important comes up, we'll get an urgent alert on this thing.
The voice that grows less muffled as its owner approaches the window is unmistakable. I don't think I could forever forget the way he talked to Aunt Claire on the last day that anything made sense to me. If I tried it. What is this? Some kind of tablet? The other man responding to him sounds much less gruff and maybe a little younger. If the killer I've seen before is really showing him around the place, I wonder if he's some kind of new recruit to whatever operation they've got going on here. Maybe they had to bring him in to replace Mr. Wint or Mr. Kidd, now they're both presumably behind bars. Something about that thought strikes me as really funny, and I hastily cover my mouth to avoid giving myself away. Like, how do you go about hiring some new guy to an entry-level organized crime position? Advertise on LinkedIn? Does the guy in charge here work in some kind of managerial role for Murder Incorporated?
Yeah, it's set up with all kinds of encrypted software. Supposedly untraceable. It's the only way we ever get direct communiques from our client.
So what happens if a message pops on it? Am I going to need some kind of password to unlock it?
Now that part's a little complicated. It changes every day, so what you're gonna need is... hang on.
Mr. Manager is interrupted by the teeny sound of a cell phone ringtone.
Yeah? Look, I told you not to call me at this number. Yeah. Okay, fine. But next time, could you at least...
He cuts himself off with a frustrated sigh. Whoever it was must have hung up on him.
Alright, rookie. Time for your first test. You hold the fort while I go take care of a few things.
What things? Anything I should know about?
No, just things. Look, all you gotta do is sit around here and mind your own business until I get back. Don't touch anything. I won't be long.
Okay. I hear footsteps fading to another part of the room, and then Aya bursts out of the wall beside
Did you
me.
get all that, Zach? The guy in charge is leaving. Let's follow him. Maybe he's going somewhere else important. I'll stick close to him. You follow from farther back.
Again, as if I have a choice. She zips around to the front of the building while I begin the laborious process of hauling myself to my feet. To start to instinctively dust off my pants, a bit before it occurs to me that it doesn't matter. My clothes are going to get covered in dirt no matter what I do these days. By the time I make my way around to the front of the house, that man I recognize anywhere is ducking into the driver's seat of a slick black car in what looks like a visitor's parking lot. Aya shouts from in between the two of us.
He's getting in his car. Should I could try to follow him, right?
I mean, you can.
I could try to get in the car, but how would I contact you?
Oh yeah, that's the thing.
And you'd be on your own without your lookout.
She trails off as the car pulls out, almost driving straight through her on its way out into the street.
Don't worry about it.
You sure? Maybe you could just keep hiding, and I'm sure he'd drive back here eventually, and then I could...
Don't worry about it.
I sound a little more bitter than I was expecting to, as I repeat myself. But the more I think about this whole situation, the more it feels like we're in over our heads. We're one boy who can barely walk and one ghost who can interact with physical objects. How are we going to disrupt the operations of an entire criminal organization? We got lucky once, Mr. Kid in that alleyway. That doesn't mean we'll get lucky again.
Okay. You're right. Let's focus our plans on this hideout here. I can go back in and try to learn the layout. And then we can keep watch and figure out the bad guys' routines and find the optimal time to sneak in and investigate some more.
I sigh.
I don't know. I'm tired.
Well, you can just hang out in your hiding spot, and I can...
I'm so sick of hanging out in hiding spots. Can we come back here later? Let's just find somewhere to rest.
Which I guess is effectively another hiding spot. But at least it might be one where I can lie down on a non-dirt surface and where there's more than just one brick wall separating me from people who want to kill me. Aya's face falls for a few moments, but she soon recovers back into a smile.
Good thinking, Zach.
Sorry.
We could be more confident about the success of our operation if we have our own hideout to return to in case of emergency. And then you can take a rest there. And I can go look around for where there might be some stores and stuff. So then if we need more food, we can...
She drifts towards the sidewalk, happily running through more plans for preparation. But I'm barely listening anymore as I gingerly limp after her. It's all starting to sound like a fantasy with no real purpose. Just a way to pass the time by pretending we're doing something important until all our problems catch up with us for good. Okay, what are these guys anyway? Right?
Hey.
Well, Aunt Claire. Is it a flashback?
Hey, Zach. Wake up, sleepyhead.
Huh? Aunt Claire?
Who else would be waking you up, kid? You get a new roommate I don't know about?
My aunt's face swims into the focus in front of me and my tears well up in my eyes. It takes me a disorientating moment to realize why I am crying. Then it hits me. She's gone. This is a dream. It has to be, right? She's dead, probably. Dead people don't just show up and talk to you. Other than Aya, I guess.
You okay?
I wipe the tears away with the back of my hand.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Either way, if this might be my only chance to talk to her, I don't want to bring something sad like that up. I want to make the most of it, even if it isn't real.
You sure? You know I'm here to talk if anything's wrong, right?
Yeah, I know.
My voice cracks as I do my best not to start crying again.
Okay, good. So what have you been up to, kid? I feel like we haven't talked in a while.
Where do I start?
With my friend Aya. You remember her? From the hospital?
Yeah, sure I do. You used to talk about her all the time. I'm glad you're still in touch. Where have you been traveling?
Oh, just, around. It's been kind of spontaneous. It's stressful sometimes. But Aya is always calling it an adventure.
Man, I've been there. I used to spend tons of time traveling around for my work, remember?
Of course I remember.
My cool jettisoning aunt always bringing home new souvenirs and stories about all the exotic places she'd been. Her visits were some of the highlights of my childhood.
It was great sometimes, but it could be a lot to handle too. Especially when I never knew how long I'd be staying somewhere, or when new opportunities might come up. It can get lonely, being on the road all the time, not really having somewhere to call home.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But there's a lot of valuable life experience you can't get any other way. Especially when you're young, you know? Sometimes you have to go around the world just to find yourself.
Find myself, huh? I haven't really been thinking about it that way. I've been too worried about other stuff.
To say the least.
Yeah, that sounds about like how it usually goes. You don't realize you're finding yourself until you already have. I remember one time when I was in my 20s, I was talking with a few friends who had been all kind of having a rough time lately. One of them had just had a bad breakup. Another really hated her job. Stuff like that. So I was doing my best to comfort them. And then one of them said something like, "Thank God we have Claire here to take care of us all. Claire is the only one who has her life together." And that sounded insane to me for a second because, like, I was so used to thinking of myself as a mess, you know. I had been a broke art student, making a series of questionable life decisions for ages. But then I realized she was right. I had a job. I had plans for the future. I was doing okay. I didn't even know I was doing okay until someone else pointed it out. Weird, huh? But that's how it goes.
I smile sadly at the mental picture of a younger version of my aunt figuring her life out and hanging out with her friends. I wonder if I'll ever get to the point that she did.
Yeah, I think I might still be at the mess stage. Mentally and physically.
Oh, dude, yeah. How's your leg? Doing any better?
It's funny. It doesn't actually hurt right now. I've barely thought about it for this whole conversation, but that's a rarity.
Not great.
That's rough, kid. It sucks having injuries hold you back from doing what you want to do. I hope you can take some time to rest and recover more soon, once you've gotten whatever you need from your travels.
I hope so too.
But it's hard to imagine that ever coming true.
Oh, and how's your friend Aya doing? I don't remember what she was in hospital for, but she was there for a long time, wasn't she? Does traveling ever get tough on her too?
I don't know.
Those are some difficult questions to answer.
Her problems aren't exactly physical.
If anything, the biggest issue for her is her complete lack of a physical body.
So I think it's a lot easier for her to get around places. I don't know if she always understands how hard it is for me. She gets all kinds of great ideas about places we should go that just aren't going to happen. But I know she has her own struggles too.
I know she must get lonely with no one else to talk to. No one else who even knows she's there. And all those unanswered questions about who she is and why all of this is happening to us.
Well, maybe the two of you should talk about it more. You could help each other out.
I guess that's why that was why I set out on this journey in the first place, wasn't it? Before Aunt Claire. I wanted to help Aya because she had helped me, because she's my best friend, and I know she's trying to help me too in her own way. Maybe there are aspects of our experiences that we'll never share, that we'll never quite get about each other, but we can do our best to try.
Yeah, you're right. We do help each other, I think.
Aunt Claire beams.
That's great. I'm so glad you have such a good friend after everything you went through. It's important to have someone to be there for you. Someone other than your boring old aunt, anyway.
Her obliviously cheerful grin grows even wider and my breath catches in my throat. The tears are rolling down my cheeks before I can stop
Aunt
them.
Claire,
I can't hold back anymore. Even if none of this is real, even if I won't get an answer that means anything, I still have to ask.
where are you right now?
My aunt responds with the same incredulous expression that she used to give me whenever I talked about her video games. Or internet humor or anything else she didn't understand.
What do you mean? I'm here with you, kid.
She smiles. And then I blink. And then she's gone. Again. And then I wake up.
Hey, Zach! Are you okay?
Sunlight stabs into my eyes, filtered through the translucent image of my friend leaning over me.
Huh?
I blink a few more times and rub my head. I'm curled up under a tree in a park near Abercrombie Avenue and my whole body feels stiff from the position I was sleeping in. I stretch my bad leg out and grimace.
Are you awake?
Unfortunately.
Oh, I was worried about you. I was just keeping watch and then I noticed you were kind of mumbling a lot in your sleep and... I think you were crying.
I move my hand to my cheek and feel a moist residue that confirms her
Were
suspicion.
you having a nightmare?
Was I? I shut my eyes tight and tried to remember.
No, not really. It wasn't a nightmare. It was just... sad. But it was kind of nice, too.
What did you dream about?
Aunt Claire. Just... talking to her. Like nothing was wrong. I miss her so much.
Tears start welling up in my eyes again.
I miss everyone, Aya. And I'm in pain all the time, and I'm scared, and I want to go home. I just wish I could go home.
Hey,
Her voice is soft and she brings her hand to my cheek, as if she could wipe the tears away. The chill of her ghostly form or ghostly fingertip is soothing in the heat of the sun.
me too. I wish we could both go home. And I'm sorry you're in pain. I guess I forget that sometimes. I wish there was something I could do.
Thanks,
I sniffle embarrassingly and rub my eyes.
but you're doing all you can. There's no home for us until we figure out why these guys are after us and what they want. So let's get them.
Yeah,
Aya springs up into the air as I do my best to slowly raise myself out of the dirt.
let's get you some coffee and breakfast. That'll make you feel better. There's a little bakery down the street that looks really good.
Okay? Okay. Just... let's head over there slowly, okay?
You've got it, boss.
Aya grins and waits patiently as I make my way to my feet and take my first lurching steps forward.
And after breakfast, we can do some more reconnaissance. There aren't too many of those shady guys, right? We've only seen 4, including the new guy who says nobody's doing, and the 2 are probably in jail right now. That bald guy is the biggest threat, and he's not at the hideout all the time. If we keep an eye on him and learn his routines, I bet we can find an opportunity to sneak in and get some more information. No problem.
Yeah, I bet we can.
Aya keeps talking about her plans and I try to respond with at least a little bit of enthusiasm. But I can't help being distracted by the memories of that bittersweet dream I had about my family. The details of it are fading into the morning light no matter how hard I tried to cling onto every word the apparition of my aunt said. I guess that's inevitable with dreams. But there's one thing I can still hear her tell me as clear as day. I'm here with you, kid. Real or not, those words give me the strength I need to keep walking. Damn. I mean, maybe she's really gone, right? But I still hope so she's not. Okay, let's end our episode there. So, yeah, I wish that we had some answers in this episode. Or maybe what happened to Aunt Claire. Maybe to just confirm it, right? But yeah, we still didn't have any. So basically now we're still on the run. Yeah, we met with Detective Sloan Tyrell earlier in the episode. But like that was it. She was just there. She stopped the other guy and yeah, that was it. And we escaped for some reason. But now we're here in Abercrombie Avenue. So we're gonna continue the reconnaissance in the next episode. So I'll just see you then, guys. Bye bye.